Welcome, everyone, to the home of the strongest MLBB region and players. It's me, Naisou, and I'm joined here once again with the dynamic duo. It's us, it's Sue Man, and we're here for our final episode of the road to M5. The journey is almost complete. It's upon us. And again, before we start, we would like to thank our official teleco partner, Smart. Now, Manjean, how we doing? It's been a while.
Nag-break lang tayo ng saglit. Pero kami makakasama nyo to visit ang mga iba't ibang rehiyon in MLBB in the road to the M5 World Championship na gaganapin sa Pilipinas this December na yan. Nako, Naisou. Yun na yun.
It's almost here, right? Just a couple days away. But again, every episode, if you guys are not familiar here, we feature a different region alongside a different guest to talk about that region. Our last episode, if you have not seen it yet, we were with Coach Lyric with Triple E Sports talking about the journey for MENA. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen also MENA from the wild card as well. Now, today, we have a special guest with us, a very familiar guest, Manjean. Can you go ahead, welcome him in?
For this episode ng ating podcast, super special. The final stop on our road to M5. We're finally going to the Philippines. Pinoy. Yes. Hindi na nosebleed to. Hindi na kailangan i-translate. Hindi na kailangan translate. The host country for the home of the back-to-back World Champions is here, and we're going to talk about the Philippines. Ito na ang well-known analyst and ang well-known richest man in all of the esports MLBB casters. Ladies and gentlemen, Wolf!
Hello po. Can I just say na napakalapit ng intro nyo na medyo na-pressure ako kasi parang na last stop. Yeah.
Taglish kasi kami.
Taglish. And also,
Taglish
to everyone out there listening, don't listen to Manjean because I'm surrounded. I'm actually literally surrounded, including our producer, by the most paldo people around. But yeah, thank you so much for the intro and hello to all the viewers out there. Hello.
The Wolf's the richest. So there's that. Great to have you, Wolf. Again, and a great intro, Manjean. Now, I know we're all excited here because the M5 main event is just days away, and I gotta say, after coming from the wild card as well, Wolf and Manjean, I know you guys probably have insights on this, but we are now complete. The 16 teams for M5 are now complete. We have all our representatives, and I think things got sorted out too because there were some things going on in the air, but I think it's established who all the 16 teams are. So, Wolf, I have to go ahead and just ask you this right off the bat. Initial impressions, basically. How do you think our teams here in the Philippines, AP, Bren and Blacklist International, will fare against these other 14 teams?
I think, diretso ko naman. Wala na sugar coating. At feeling ko naman, I'm speaking as an analyst then for M5 and not just only being a Filipino. I think the Filipino teams ay napakataas ng chance na manalo dito sa tournament. I think that they're championship contenders, especially after seeing AP Bren and Blacklist International play nung playoffs natin kumpara dun sa mga playoff runs ng ibang mga teams natin for M5. They are very strong contenders. Easily top 3. Nasa top 3 yung dalawang teams natin. Ayun.
So, ibig sabihin, sure win.
Medyo sure win.
Walang bias yan.
Walang bias.
Walang bias.
Sure. Sa listahan ng mga posible nating makalaban, sino-sino ba ang mga posibleng maging bansa sa banta sa pagdepensa ng Pilipinas? I-name mo, rekta agad. Rekta.
Oo. Diretso na tayo, no?
Diretso.
Onyx, syempre. Nandun ang malapit na Raja Yeba led squad. At nandun din si Kyrie. At tingin ko, strongest yung Onyx ngayon kung usapang init. Kung usapang ilo, kasi hindi sila nagpakita ng recent tournament natin ng international MPL. So, kumbaga, hindi bumaba yung rank nila. Kasi alam mo yun, pag nag-rank ka, di ba? Tapos di ka naglaro, hindi bumaba yung stars mo. So
Tama.
basically, sila yung pinakamataas na stars ngayon kung isipin. But kidding aside, ayun, sila yung biggest contender. Tingin ko yung ito yung siguro, diretso na ako sa pinaka dark horse. Dalawa yung nakikita ko, which is yung interestingly Farflax impunity. Basta yung doon sila Rosa.
Si Bad Gal Step.
Sila Bad Gal.
Si Alien.
Exactly. Sila yung excited the dark horse. And of course, yung homeboys. Ayan. May init ang mga salitang binitawan ni Mr. Zorn. At he has to walk the talk, kumbaga. But speaking of dark horses, sila yung dalawa nakikita ko.
So you think would you say there's more dark horses, or those are just your two? Like you have two dark horses.
Yep.
Just real quick, what do you think the threat level to the Philippines would be from the wildcard teams that qualified?
Ooh.
Team SMG and Team Logan.
All right. I think sa Lil Gun maybe not so high. Especially dun sa performance nila, shaky. Tapos parang they had to face teams na hindi rin natin kilala. So it's very hard to gauge kung ano yung real power level nila. But just looking at their gameplay, kumbaga, in our expression here sa Philippines, marami pang kakaining nasi or bigas. Yun. And then, Team SMG, I'm actually surprised dun sa kanilang performance. And quite frankly, excited ako makita yung improvement ng team na to because they have something different na in-implement compared to other teams, which is yung meron silang team psychologist. If you remember yung mga nakasulat yung early rotation, don't force, inhale, exhale, yung nakasulat dun sa kamay nila.
Yeah, yung kamay.
Yeah, that was cool. And then they kinda revealed na meron silang psychologist. Funny enough, nung nagbasa ako, nag-research kasi, nag-search ako dun sa social media, like Team SMG psychologist. Ang actually unang lumabas was this post last 2022 where Team SMG is looking for a psychologist as a team. So basically, na-implement na pala nila yon, and you can really see the stark difference of Team SMG during MPL playoffs.
Effective.
MY playoffs, and then dun sa wildcard. Effective. Kumbaga.
Wow.
Medyo tumaas yung threat level nila for me.
Kailangan din ba ng psychologist ng PH teams, tingin mo? Or wala na? Okay na yung setup? May isang analytical coach, may isang coach. Tingin mo, okay na ba yan?
Yung sa Blacklist, I think talking to Rada, and if you want to know more about that, maybe you should listen to my podcast. Pero yung kay Boss Rada, kumbaga, mayroon na sila. I think they have implemented that psychology ever since. Pero hindi kasi yata formally doctor. I'm not entirely sure about this. Pero meron silang at least mental training, right? So, and then if you're looking at AP Bren, just ko si Daki. Isa sa mga inaro niya before. Although hindi siya doctor din, psychology. I think it's one of his areas na field na talagang ginalingan din niya. So yung about sa mental coaching. For both of the teams, to answer your question, kailangan ba nila ng psychologist din? I think eventually along the way. But for now, I think they got it covered. Kasi meron naman sila mga practices na ginagawa before na pasok dun sa area na yun, yung mental training. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, but I think talking about Coach Ducky, I think part of their mental training is obviously like the whole gym routine, and we talked about that during the MPL season. Like some of these teams now starting their gym routines, they're trying to stay healthy, and that's part of it. You keep your mind healthy, your body healthy, you're probably going to play better as well, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing here now. Also, I like that you kind of pointed on that, some of the thoughts here, even with Team SMG, because one thing that I learned while I was over there was that, this is also the first time that they've had a crowd supporting them, which part of that support that was rallied also came from Daddyhood and, the homeboys and everything like that. So now you have all these guys rallying behind Team SMG and with the improvements that they have. So, and, one constant trend that we've been talking about this entire year Wolf, is the imports of players and coaches.
Yun.
We know that to an extent there is an effect, right? It may affect them. So we already know that now for most of the representatives for M5, MENA, NA, ID, KH, Singapore, Malaysia, all these, there's either one or two players and even maybe a coach a part of these rosters, right? How do you think this affects the landscape for M5? Is that a big impact here for M5 alone?
Yeah. I think it's super duper massive. And hindi lang sa Filipino imports but most particularly sa Indonesian imports. I believe that scientifically, hindi naman pala scientifically, pero stats have proven sa ibang esports at ibang sports din that imports generally have good effect. Pero hindi siya yung parang instant, right? So what we're seeing now is the effect of the imports from last year pa. From PH from last year pa. Right? Ito ngayon para natin nararamdaman talaga yung actual effect niya. If you look back nung M4, we've had imports dun sa Indonesia and then dun sa Cambodia, right? That was Zico. And then the Yeb Kyrie tapos si Arcadia, right? So they still didn't make it to top 2 basically, right? So, kasi literally kakalipat lang nila. Well, season 10 was the first season na nagkaroon tayo ng yung massive exodus of the ex-Onic PH people nung after ng season 9. Hindi instant yung nakita nating effect. May improvements, obviously. May nakita tayo mga improvements pero hindi natin pwedeng ma-isolate na ito talagang effect niyan. Now that we are seeing it after a year, what is the overall effect? You have every team na nag-invest sa isang Filipino ay nakapasok. And then, meron ginawa din yung Homeboys, which is, ang in-import naman nila is Indonesians, which I think is also genius kasi na kumuha sila ng mga players na mas madali, na parang mas speed up yung process. Kasi ang main hurdle, ang main bottleneck ng pag-improve ng isang team pag nag-import is the language barrier. But with Indo to Malaysia, sobrang lessened ng bottleneck na yun. So, malaki talaga yung effect niya. Pero, always remember that it will be gradual. I'm sure na ngayon, malaki na yung difference from M4. I think that come MSC next time, next season, mas lalakas pa yung impact ng mga Filipino imports natin. And overall, I think it's good for the ecosystem kasi parang ano lang to eh. Hindi naman siya about the Filipino pride but more of the more teams are the more na nag-invest ng mga teams outside of the Philippines na sa pagpapalakas ng community nila, mas lalakas talaga yung mga teams in that region.
So, would you say na sobrang tight ng competition this year? Like, hindi masabi or it's still mayroon lang one side ng spectrum. Ito lang yung mga mananalo or talagang bugbugan ba because of these imports na pinakalat ang lakas ng MLBB.
Yeah, much tighter compared to previous seasons for sure.
Feeling ko kasi lahat ng region ay may PH except the Turkish Delight team.
Yes.
And Brazil. Tama. So meron sa MENA, sa NA, sa KH, SG, MY at specifically sa ID na punong-puno ng Pinoy.
Oo.
Lahat. Oo, lahat. Tingin mo yung Blacklist International at saka yung AP Bren. Anong estado? Ay, well, nasabi mo na kasi kanina eh. Top 3, top. Pero ano ba? Easy games ba yung group stage para sa kanila?
Yun ang siguro doon tayo medyo I would say kung may konting threat, yun yung pinakamalaking threat kasi ang group stage natin ay iba right now. Fortunately, best of 3 siya. So hindi ka malalaglag agad or hindi ka first game nice game katulad ng mga nangyayari sa ibang teams nung previous M series, but it is an elimination group stage which means I think ngayon lang last nung M3 and M4 parang hindi ka malalaglag sa group stage
Sa group.
Yeah, 'di ba?
Oo.
So in a way, pwede ka mag-chill at pwede ka pa magtago ng struts. Ngayon kasi best of 3, tas dalawa lang yung makakaangat. And then if you're looking at the groups, napunta yung blacklist for example sa group of death, right? So alam naman natin na kaya nilang ma-overcome yun. But at the same time, pwede kasi makabulag mga
Pwede lumason.
Mason Lason Gaming for a best of 3. So, I guess, and then if you compare it, kunwari nasa knockout stages ka sa playoffs, you have more information about the teams kasi napaglaro sila ng 3 series no matter what, or at least. Then, best of 5 na yon kung upper bracket ka, diba? So, it's, I guess, I would say mas madadalian tayo sa playoffs kumpara sa group stage dahil lang dun sa Lason factor.
Okay. Okay. Ang gusto ko pag-usapan since analyst analyst si Wolf. Ito mga napag-usapan yung fast pace update ng MLBB. Nakita natin ng M4 ay meta nung pick off and turtle, tapos biglang nung after ay nagkaroon ng meta ng mga healers, ganyan. Sa ito personal question, sa fast pace meta ngayon, kanino ba ngayon ang meta? Yan. Ang magandang tanong. Pinuri sariling tanong Pero sige, yun na yun. Kanino ang meta?
Kanino ang meta? Wow, okay. Mahirap pa. Pero, yung Onyx, kung usapang kanino ang meta, tingin ko sa mas bagay siya sa blacklist ngayon. Malakas pa rin yung ilang mga support type, and then maganda yung tempo kasi ng blacklist. Yun yung tanong ng kanino yung meta. Kung usapang papaboran ng meta game at sino gumagamit ng mga strongest heroes, ayan, sa blacklist yan. Lalo na nakita natin, nagpakita na si Sensui ng kanyang assassin gameplay. Nolan, diba? Nolan and Joy, yun yung mga top. And then Nolan nalalaro niya. Tapos meron silang magandang sustain meta game with Matilda. So tapos lahat ng XP lane kasi kayang-kayang laruin ni Mr. Edward. Yan si Agent Zero the Consistent. So, kung usapan kanina yung meta sa kanila, ang AP Bren kasi tsaka Onyx Indonesia, ang kagandahan sa dalawang teams na to, meron silang shaper of meta vibes. Most particularly ito si Coach Chef, diba? Parang kung ano yung mga pinipili. But at the same time, nakapag-adjust. So, siguro sila yung magiging unorthodox pa. And that's also very true sa AP Bren. Alam mo naman kung gaano kabaliw yung mga ginagawa nila. Oo. At si Coach Bren, at syempre si Daki, the way that they're training their players. Bigla makita ng Fovius mid, di ba? Tapos baka nga makita tayo mga Fredrin mid.
Fredrin mid.
Mga ganong kabaliw na pick. So, not necessarily sa kanila papabor yung meta. Pero sila yung gagawa nung meta game nila, kumbaga.
Okay, so
good take.
Yeah, interesting because even looking back sa wild card, some of the picks, like for example, Nolan was open so many times, but the teams decided not to go that route. They decided to go with something more risky, and I still personally I like where the meta is right now because there's so many flexible picks, flexible meta or draft that you can bring. And since you're talking about Blacklist and a little bit about AP Bren, Wolf, what do you think the strength is here for AP Bren? Like, what makes them, a strong contender aside from the Fovius mid, the Fredrin mid, that flexibility? Is there anything else that makes AP Bren, so strong?
Yeah, I think sa kanila, nandito tayo sa height ng mga players na naglalaro for them. Particularly yung tinrust the process nila, which is si Kyle, si Ogwen, and Super Marco. Yung tatlong yun, they're at their height. Kumbaga, paakyat yung nila papik yung trajectory nila when it comes to their career and their power level. So, kumbaga, meron sila nung alam mo yun, killer instinct ng mga bata, basically. Meron sila nun. Tapos, na-train pa sila ng tama and na-guide sila sa tamang way. So, meron sila nung kulit at nung galing ng mga mga bata. And then, they have one of the most important and most successful and also pinaka-consistent na idol talaga, which is si Few, di ba? And then nililead sila ng isang champion, kumbaga nag-M2 na experience na yung highest of highs, lowest of lows. And si Few, di ba? Na-experience niya yung pinakamababa. At I'm sure na siya yung parang magiging mature talaga dun sa team na yon. At napaka-importante ng role na yon. And then meron sila nung parang meron silang Unleash the Kraken, which is si Flap. 'Di ba? Pag on point si Flap, nakakawa yun. The flappening.
The flappen or the flappening.
The flappening.
Ano yung flappening?
Ayun. Tapos yun yung nangyayari kay Flap. Alam natin na may mga times na parang questionable, di ba? Pero nakita mo kung gano'ng kabilis siyang bumawi. Babalik tayo dun sa SEA Games run nila kung saan heavily criticized yung mga ginagawa ni Flap TZ nung parang game 1. And then game 2, he turned it around ng sobra. Minsan nga, sa start ng game, dun siya nagiging questionable and then bigla na lang niya hahanapin na makakahanap back to his zone, di ba? Ganun yung napapansin ko yung Flap eh.
Flappening tawag doon.
The flappening eh. Kumbaga, sa una, normal, Flap easy gameplay. Tapos biglang, pag pumitik na yung the flappening, bigla ka na magugulat kung gano'n kalapit.
May parang paranormal na...
may paranormal activity.
Hindi ka sure kung, is this right? Is this wrong? But it's the flappening.
At,
connecting to what Wolf said, alam natin magkakaibang kwento ng dalawang teams na to. Blacklist International, nag-rebuild din, pero for a short time nila na nakamit. Meanwhile, you have the long-term storytelling for AP Bren.
Correct.
Given na may dalawa akong tanong actually pero may dalawa akong gustong thoughts na makuha din. Pero unahin ko muna yung mas specific. MPLI, nangyari siya this month. And both of the teams, well, hindi yun yung main team ng Blacklist, pero AP Bren was the main team and they lost. Good news ba to for AP Bren, yung MPLI na natalo sila? Kasi meron ngang curse or yung sinasabi nila na may curse ba pag nag-champion or learning curve na lang to? Goods ba na nangyari yung pre-game tournament na MPLI for both of these teams before M5? Even sa lahat kasi nandun din yung Geek Fam, Homeboys.
Right.
Parang nag-test ng ng waters yung
nagka-checkping.
Some people said it's like preview basically.
Yeah, except on
like mini preview.
Yeah. Cannot say. I think generally good siya sa maybe yung mga Blacklist members. Kasi at least yun na-checkping talaga nila yung competition nila nung time na yun. I think for AP Bren, hindi ko alam kung ganito i-take nila Coach Daki, but for me maganda kasi nalaman nila yung mga potential na problema nila when it comes to their gameplay. Basically sa draft, diba? Yung draft choices lang yan on a best of 3. The first time kunwari nung nakatapat nila ang I think was it Echo ba yung una nila nakatapat? Draft talaga yung naging problema nila. Hindi sila na-out-draft pero ang hirap i-pull off nung ginawa nila. It's not very Vren nung ginawa nila nung mga time na yun. Specifically Vren. It's not so Vren. And then, nung katapat nila yung RSG, kung di nagkakamali, yung next, it was RSG. Yung eventually naglaglag sa nila. Ang lesson learned naman nila doon was more about ending the games. At parang na-remind tayo na ang weakness ng AP Bren nung regular season ng season 12 was actually yung kanilang pagtatapos ng mga long games. Parang sobrang galing nila sa mga one-sided games. Ang galing nilang early, put simply, magaling sila mang early, 'di ba? Ganun mag-set ang mga pro, na-earlyhan kami, ganun. But they have a lot of moves when it comes to their early game. Then nag-overheat sila, doon sila nag-struggle. So generally, I think maganda sa Bren na natalo sila. Obviously, don't wanna lose like a tournament like MPLI, lalo na with the prize pool and with the prestige at yung momentum. But siguro may mga lessons at least. With Blacklist, I think generally talaga okay, goods kahit ganun yung naging resulta. Kasi ibang squad eh. So
Oo.
wala talaga. And I think the rationale is to also allow yung kanilang M M5 representatives na magkaroon ng proper rest and proper preparation. Ang maganda pa nito, ang nabatak doon ay yung mga coach. Nandun si ano eh, nandun si Coach Bonchan. And obviously
Quezon
nandun si
Esports.
Quezon Esports. For sure ano eh.
The only esports.
The only esports.
The only
Kumbaga,
sports.
lupit eh. Parang for sure na nasipat na niya yung mga ano eh. Yung mga naaurahan niya yung mga nandun, ganun.
Na-Quezon Esports niya.
Na-Quezon Esports niya.
To all of the viewers out there, especially to the international viewers who are saying this about a specific team like blank esports or name esports, Quezon Esports did it first.
You did it years ago ba?
Years ago.
Wala pa. Yung ano eh, ang kasabihan dyan, Naisou, wala pang MPL legend na si Quezon.
Quezon Esports.
And it is legit because he was
the OG.
The OG.
The OG, like the only.
Ang tawag sa kanya is carry ng Pinas or something like I forget the actual term pero something ng Pinas nung time na Mark MM ng Pinas ata, parang ganun, or carry ng Pinas before pa season 1, before pa nag-season 1 ganun ko siya.
Ito Naisou, translate mo na lang. Gusto ko rin malaman ng international before we head on to the next topic. Yung mga bench, di pa uso yan. Yung mga unang bench, champion, na be-bench, the only 6-man player, the consistent 6-man player who made it again, who played back in season 7 and won again and won time after time. Quezon Esports. That's it. Anyways,
Quezon Esports.
Quezon Esports.
The one and only.
The one and only. The first, the one and only. Anyways, MPLI happened and I think magandang pregame siya. Ako personally, gusto ko talaga yung checkping. Hindi nga pwede mo ituring hindi checkping yun kasi seryosohan eh. And tight din yung competition sa MPLI. Anyways, gusto ko yung para sa akin interesting ngayon yung M5 kasi because of the stories. Yung Onyx long term, lugmok sila nung M4. Geek Fam also, you have Big Boy Baloy sa kanilang comeback games na well-deserved on the Grand Finals. Ang daming stories. Pero kanino ka na team pinaka-interested na kwento? Yan. Sino ang mas may pinaka magandang chapter na they need to finish the story? Yes. In M5.
I think this is a topic that we can talk about all day, legit eh. Kasi ano yan, ang dami. Tsaka especially, talking to many teams. For example lang, TOB, 'di ba? Hindi sila ganoon ka-famous. In fact, sa mga Pilipino, ang sama pa rin sa ilang mga Pilipino, ang sama ng tingin nila doon sa TOB and some of the people around the world. Especially mga Indonesians dahil sa mga malupit na words sinabi ni Milo, right? But then when you diba?
Lagi naman.
But then when you get to speak with them, you'll see them in a different light, diba? Yeah. TOB sa the NA representatives, yung sacrifices na kinailangan nilang gawin para ma-reach yung kung nasan sila ngayon ay totally different, right? You can even argue na mas marami silang sinacrifice. You can even argue na mas konti they even lost money just to get to M5. Specifically mga players nila. Yung mga players na nandun sila, pati yung mga coaches, part-time lang yan. Nag-aaral, nagtatrabaho, and then end of the day maglalaro, right? Ganun ka intense. So yun yung interesting sa story nila. Then you go to other parts like Team SMG, the road that they had to go through, losing a best of 7, tapos parang kinailangan na mag-recover to finish it. If you're looking at the teams from Mina, ganun din, yung mga sacrifice nila, sobrang laki din. If you're looking at RQ Akira naman, they have been very dominant dun sa kanilang sariling MPL. But when they go here, dito sa international grounds, gano'n pa sila talaga kalakas. Every single year, nakikita natin sila Luis, 'di ba, na nagpe-perform. But we can see na hindi pa ganun kaangat yung level nila compared to other teams dito sa Southeast Asia, 'di ba? So many good stories. Now you look at the investments of Indonesia. Maganda rin kasi yung road for the two representatives of Indonesia. For example, dito sa Onyx, kahit pa dominant road yun, alam natin na madaming heartbreak silang hinarap through whatever happened dun kina Kyrie nung M4, then eventually itong si Albert yung mga na kinailangan niya i-go through, and of course si Coach Cheb yung kanyang mga pinagdaanan. It looks very very high of sobrang taas nung level nila, but at the same time if you hear their stories, madami rin sila talagang pinagdaanan, and they have to go through a lot kasi Onyx as a team hindi sila yung beloved dun sa Indonesia, alam mo yun. There are the likes of RQ Nevos. They're usually villains ngayon lang talaga sila nagiging tawag dito, beloved. And then etong si Kyrie at si Coach Cheb pa, imagine mo, hated sila ng mga Pilipino. Ganun ka, 'di ba? Parang mga Pinoy sila doon. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are proud of what Kyrie and Coach Cheb is able to do, but if I'm reading the comments lang, if I'm just browsing through social media, mas marami ako nakikita mga hate comments towards Coach Cheb and Kyrie. And now, babalik sila sa Pilipinas as representatives of Indonesia or as representatives of Onyx Esports, 'di ba? At madami ka na mababasa agad na pag nakita ko to, dito, babatuin ko ng kung galit ako dito. And alam mo yun, parang what's that? I mean, I'm sure na they are just kids na trying to prove na magaling sila, tapos why are they being hated? So that's also another story na kailangan nilang sagutin. And actually, yung Onyx na sa estado ngayon na hindi sila pwede matalo kasi ganun ka GG sa hindi sobrang well received ang Onyx kumpara sa other teams. Kaya eto na yung win or lose, do or die situation for them itong M5. At and lastly, yung sa Geek Fam lang din, napakagandang story din. Imagine nyo, season 11 was the first time na nag-playoffs itong team na to, itong franchise na to, which is led by Baloy. Ganun kalupit yung storya.
Yeah.
And then season 12, yung madami ring mga hindi naniniwala kasi nga syempre RQ yung favorites, BTR yung favorites sa mga time na yun. Ang maganda dito, yung mga solid fans ng Geek Fam at nakwento rin naman ni Balay, ang pinaka lagi niyang unang-unang sina-shoutout is the fans. Kasi ibang klase yung pagka-believe sa atin ng fans. May nakikita daw kasi siya na parang day one pa lang nandun siya, nakikita na niya. Sa lahat ng pagkatalo hanggang sa nakapasok sa M5, ayun, nakikita niya. So parang very touching story, 'di ba? And then of course, and then si the solution, iba pang storyline yun. So there's really
there's so many.
There's so many, dude. I'm telling you right now, to all of the viewers out there, the more that you get to talk to the teams, the more that you'll understand that these people, parang you would wish that they get the championship.
The win.
The win. But sadly,
actually, that's something that we've learned here, just on on this podcast alone. Like all of our guests, have shared these basically the trials that they've been through. The players, you even mentioning what the Ohio brothers go through. When we had Dave as I think he was our first guest here on the first episode, he shared a lot of that information, and we were surprised by it. And then you learn with the succeeding guests that this is a typical thing. Like all these other regions are not as blessed with the opportunity, such as the Philippines or Indonesia, to go basically full-time, MLBB players. And just real quick too, to hit on what you were saying about Kyrie and Coach Yeb getting these comments of this and that, what people have to understand is they're basically representing two countries in a way, right? They're doing it. It was actually in the wild card. I loved what Miko from Team SMG said at the end of it during their victory interview with Mara. He said he's so happy, basically translating it. He said he's so happy because not only is he representing Malaysia, but he's also going to be representing the Philippines in a way, right? So he gets to represent two countries instead of one, and that brought him like a lot of joy and pride. And so I think that's something that people need to understand when they're sitting there typing on their keyboard warriors, all this stuff. It's these guys are normal people, and they're there to represent and bring pride to the country they're representing, and maybe even their home country, right? I think that's something that's very apparent there. So great points. There's so many narratives going into M5, and that's only like the tip of the iceberg. What you talk about here, there's so much, and I know during the broadcast we'll be sharing some of those stories and those narratives so that people can really understand what some of these players are going through. Because again, some of these, even the ones that we got to talk to in the wild card, like they don't earn anything all year round except maybe the tournaments they join. Like they're doing it out of pure passion.
Yeah.
And that alone is just insane to think about. So thank you for sharing that, Wolf. We are going to move to one of our favorite segments.
Here we go
with a spin on it. So every guest, don't worry, it's not too it might put you in a hot seat basically, but we do this every episode. We've changed it a little bit. It started as like a traffic reference and everything else, but now we've divided into three categories here. So all the M5 teams, you'll be categorizing them, and the three categories, real quick, just so our listeners know as well. We have three categories. The first one is going to be ang mga happy to be here. They're just happy to be here, right?
Yeah. Go, Naisou.
Number two, ang mga dark horse. At ang mga championship contenders. So those are the three categories, right? Happy to be here. They're the dark horse, and then championship contenders. So, Manjean, I usually pass this to you, but I had to get a little Filipino in there, so, for the last episode. But yeah, Wolf, those are the three categories. You can go ahead and, start with happy to be here.
Man.
So, Wolf,
so pwedeng,
difficult.
So difficult.
Pwede ka namin i-help kasi ang daming teams niyan eh. Pero,
16.
16 teams, 4 groups.
Can I just say, wait, hang on. Maybe this is difficult. Maybe okay. Since what if ang mood natin today, I woke up today being direct to the point. Rektahan tayo dito. Alright. So
kanina pa, boy. Kanina pa.
Kanina pa ba? Sige. Ito. Wait. Kailangan ng liquid courage, which is coffee.
Yes.
Made by himself. Latte art by himself.
Sir, can you see it?
It's almost gone.
Almost gone. Woo! Okay. So I'm gonna do it the reverse way. Unahin ko na yung Alright.
Sure,
unahin ko na yung championship contenders. I mentioned 3. Onyx, Blacklist, AP Bren, and Jan.
Okay.
Dark Horse, I only have
mentioned 2, I think, earlier.
I think, yeah. So I mentioned Fireflux, Homeboys, and I'm gonna add Geek Fam in there.
Okay. So 6 teams. Meron ka pang 12 teams.
The rest will be happy to be here.
Oh.
And then wait, 10 teams. Quick math.
Yes. Oo nga, quick math. 10 pala.
Quick math.
Quick math. May yung 10 teams happy to be here. So yon ay based on what you said, Bigetron Suns.
Oh my
See
God.
you soon. Triple Esports si Coach Lyric. Blacklist.
Blacklist na sa
championship.
Championship. Oo nga pala. Blacklist, AP Bren, Onyx.
Yes.
Okay. Fireflux is Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
Okay, so RRQ Akira, happy to be here.
Yeah.
Team SMG, Burmese Ghouls.
Yeah.
Team Flash, Lilgan, Joe's Vault, the Ohio Brothers.
Dave.
Tsaka, ayun, Devo.
Daewoo.
Homeboys ba, Dark Horse? Sorry.
Yes, Homeboys, Dark Horse.
Dark Horse. Okay.
Ito, just to kinda save myself. Anong nangyari kasi guys, 3 lang yung tiers. I think there should be a tier in between Happy to be here and the Dark Horse. But since we're trying to be a very sportsman about this, yun yung sa akin. At yan. I think
Lagot ka sa producer.
Matapang
Lagot ka sa producer.
matapang ang kape na ininom ko ngayon. And I'm gonna be direct to the point. Yun, 3 lang ang aking contenders. And then 3 Dark Horses. And then the rest is HTBH.
Okay. Pinapanood at pinapakinggan ka ng ating napaka-paldong producer at
Yep. That's why he's the producer because he produced it. For us.
So those are the teams ni Sir Wolf and kayo nang bahala humusga.
Kayo nang bahala.
Kayo nang bahala humusga, guys.
Oh my
God. Kinategorize ni Wolf.
So,
yun lang.
Yun lang. Tapos na.
Magka-categorize pa ba tayo, Naisou? Hindi, tayo host dito eh.
Wala.
Wait, ginawa ba ito ng ibang guests?
Oo.
Yeah.
Pero wala pa nung
Actually,
M5.
all of them.
Yeah, wala pa yung wildcard.
Ibang tiering.
Walang wildcard.
What they did was in their country.
Right.
In their region. Who's
Correct.
gonna make it to M5 in their region.
Yeah. Woo! Kasi some of the guests during that time, we were waiting for their playoffs and whatnot. So
yes.
So now that we have the category, right? Let's take a look at the bigger picture here, Wolf. How do you think that these teams, particularly those who are the world's best, right, will fare against the Philippines, or about the going against AP Bren and Blacklist International, basically? How do you think some of these teams will do? I know you already kind of talked a little bit also about Onyx extensively and whatnot. How do you think some of these other teams will do against the Philippines?
Yeah. So, dalawa yung lesson talaga. I think yung 3 dark horses na mention ko, which is basically one Indonesian team, Kickfam, diba? And then a mixed team, Homeboys, with Indonesians then na imports, and then Fireflux. Alright. The rest might do well, pero baka hindi nila kayanin yung pagiging established na ng mga teams na meron tayo, which is AP Bren. I mean, I can confidently say na malakas talaga yung mga Filipino teams, right? And they're ahead of the curve, for lack of a better term. Now, pag nakita natin yung mga dark horses like Geek Fam, how will they fare against Filipino teams? I think yun yung maganda kasi ma-action. I think yun yung kagandahan sa Geek Fam, they will challenge. Challenger mentality sila. Nanonood kayo ng boxing, sila yung mga susugod at susugod. So ganong klaseng team. They will try to make plays. They will draft aggressively. Aggressively in a way na parang comfort nila. Tapos gagawa sila ng mga play na centered around Baloyski na amazing. Kumbaga, think about Geek Fam na instinctual kind of team na hindi sila yung parang strat-based kind of team na unlike Blacklist, for example, di ba? Which is very interesting to watch. And at the same time, dahil challenger mentality nga sila, kayang-kaya nilang makipagsabayan. They kaya nilang makalasot. Kumbaga, they can even honestly, yung ganong klaseng team yun eh. They are the team that really challenged Onyx Esports a lot. And that is napakalaking bagay nun. So in a best of 3 series, expect na ibang Geek Fam yung makikita. Kasi nung MPL, it was a bunch of best of ones.
Yeah.
Na hindi ganun ka kasi kung maalala niyo yung playoffs run, di ba? Puro 5 games. Which is yun yung different beast na makikita sa Geek Fam. So how will they fare? Ganun. They can win actually against our Filipino team. But at the same time, they can also lose. Ganun. Kumbaga, challenger mentality nga kasi. And something similar can be said about Homeboys, especially kasi kapag nakuha nila yung mga comfort nila with Zorn. And if makikita natin yung dalawang Indonesians sila na ganun din ka consistent na gusto rin na gumawa ng mga crazy kinds of plays and also very aggressive. And I think they improved a lot dun sa kanilang drafting at sobrang clear na sa MPLI. So they also have a great chance. Then lastly, you have Fireflux. At sobrang impressive ang pinakita nila nung M4. And then nung MSC, hindi nila kasama si Rosa na sobrang iniidolo ko ngayon kasi gaganda ng performance talaga. Kumbaga siya yung Turkish Haji eh. Ganun. Turkish Haji.
Tropa natin yan si Alien tsaka si Bad Girl
Steph.
Bad Girl Steph.
Yeah.
Pag may bad girl sa pangalan,
malupit.
malupit. Wolf, hindi rin.
Pang-umbrella.
Parang umbrella. Hindi mo kasi alam na trap tong podcast ito.
Bakit?
Nang dahil sa ginawa mo, nasa hot seat ka na. Meron kang meron kang 3 teams na binanggit mo na sure ball 1, 2, 3. Hindi ko alam kung magagalit si producer kung hindi mo sasagutin to. Ikaw na bahala kay producer. Pero ito na ang kanyang tinatawag na the fearless forecast. May 3 kang sinabing team. Sino champion? Sino runner-up? Sino second runner-up?
naman tayo. Kailangan mo talaga.
Magagalit si producer. Nakikita mo, buksan
may
mo
curse si Wolf, di ba?
May curse si Wolf. Boy, last show ka, last show. Nanonood si producer somewhere out there. Nanonood, pinapakinggan ka ni producer nag-golf habang nag-golf, pinapakinggan ka. Habang nagbo-bowling. Kailangan mo daw sumagot.
So hard.
For the sake of the show lang For the sake of the show.
Di naman? Ikiklip na naman to eh. Okay. Ito ang aking firm belief.
Okay.
Believe in your heart.
Top 3. Number 3, it's going to be Blacklist. Right?
Okay.
Sobrang idol at mahal na mahal ko mga players. Particularly ang back end. Dahil nandyan si Mr. Ikoy. At syempre, alam mo ba yung winningest duo ng back end? Yan, si Eson at si Ikoy.
The double E.
Na yung dalawa yun. Sure win na.
Double E.
But unfortunately, sa top 3, kaya nila mag-champion for sure. Pero based lang naman dun sa nakita ko dun sa MPL playoffs, strat pool ang kailangan nilang i-improve. At kung nabago nila yon, they can easily become champs. Or malay natin, nagtatago sila nung playoffs pa. At M5 nila ilalabas lahat. So, but judging lang naman dun sa playoffs run. Kasi yun lang yung recent memory ko eh. Yan sila. Second is Onic. Which means AP Bren yung champion. But yeah, bakit second place lang yung Onic? I believe na feeling ko lang, nananostra ko lang merong aura ang international series. Tapos nasa Pilipinas pa. Tapos may mga may mga bumubulong-bulong pa sa paligid ng ating mga nandun. And of course, mayroong mga factors sa Onic na hindi pa yata na-fix like yung kay CW pag napapansin natin kapag international events medyo siya na-nerf. Kumbaga para siyang parang ewan ko di ko ma-explain din.
Kailangan yata manood ng stream ng na stream ni na Bobby Tricks.
Kailangan siguro.
Marami siyang matututunan in terms of being down, don't be down.
Don't get me wrong I think I still feel na sobrang lakas ng lahat ng individually lahat ng players. And feeling ko naman nalagpasan na nila 'yon. Pero kasi M5 kumbaga na baka kulang sila sa anghang, alam mo 'yun kasi hindi masyadong maanghang dito kumpara sa kanila baka Indo. Kumbaga balita ko na sobrahan sila sa puro sila ngayon yung hindi ko na sabihin ko anong brand pero may isang manok na sikat na fried chicken na hindi maanghang dito sa Pilipinas at yun yung palagi nilang nakain. Baka masobrahan sila doon. Tas alam mo yun.
Sobra sa manok?
Doon sa sobra yan sa sa saya. Yan ang mga tropa natin. Ba hindi sila ganun ka 100%, right? That's why I
Sobra
put
sa
them
Joy.
second. Nasobrahan sa Joy. Ayan. So, pag nasobrahan sa Joy, ayun talaga, kumbaga, kapos sa, kulang sa anghang, nasobrahan sa Joy, mahirapan sila. Yan. Kaya tingin ko, ano sila, second
Mga
place.
chicken boy.
Chicken boy.
Chicken
Chicken boy.
Chicken boy. Chicken boy. At syempre,
Tap yan.
top ang aking super champion, ang AP Bren. Binabati ko si ang aking idol na si Miss Adi. Ayan. Eto na kasi ano hindi sila yung binoto ko nung MPLI. Wala lang. Na-share ko lang. Ngayon nasa M5 sila ang aking maboto. Well, I think ano naman, nakita ko naman ang talagang power level nitong AP Bren. Mataas pa talaga yung ceiling. I think yung best asset nila ngayon is yung drafting nila, comfortable sila kasi yung mga players willing na laruin kahit ano. You can see yung mga Arlot Rome, yung mga Fovius Mid, ayan. Tapos yun nga, meron silang recurring na champion mentality na pagdaanan na yung mataas at mababa. Ayan, si Mr. Few. At ito na ata, ito yung aking fearless forecast. Tunay na fearless forecast. Ito na, ang coronation ng ating Golden Goat. Na si
The Golden Goat.
If you. Yeah. Yan. Baka pag siya yung nag-champ dito, undisputed na siya. Ang ano.
From Golden Boy to Golden Goat.
The Golden Goat, yeah.
Nag-evolve.
The Golden Goat.
Yeah.
Somewhere out there, thank you, Wolf, for the fearless forecast.
Sana may trabaho pa ako after this.
Yes, somewhere out there, our producer playing golf is smiling.
Tama.
At alam niya na yung mga LA Clippers dyan.
Mga LA Clippers, shout out sa inyo.
Clippers.
Alam niya. All right. Grabe. That was probably the most, I feel like, expansive answer also for the fearless forecast that we've had here on the podcast. Now, again, Wolf, we are happy to have you here, of course, and we are wrapping things up. So again, you've given your thoughts about this. M5 is just a few days away. Do you have any final messages out there, shout outs, plugs maybe that you might have? Go ahead and let everybody know.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me here. I'm very happy to share the thoughts in my head before the playoffs. I think magiging pagdating kasi mismo ng M5 broadcast, we cannot be partial to any team. So we have to really, whatever yung mga naisip ko ngayon, it might be different. Like the factors that I'm thinking about. Like for example, sa Onyx, diba? It could be different sa broadcast and then this podcast. Also, gusto ko lang sabihin to all of the viewers out there, especially for those who are fans and also haters of specific teams, right? And the more you get to know the teams, the more you understand what they do and what their sacrifices were, and mas maintindihan ninyo. And hopefully, when you get to know them, the real teams at my real stories of the teams, the more you'll understand na hindi maganda na hindi na binabash natin sila with whatever they're doing. They're just they just want to win and they're sacrificing a lot. And if you want to get to know more about these teams, watch my podcast. Yun lang.
There it is.
That's the plug.
What's the podcast? What's the podcast?
The 8G podcast sa Wolfcasts on YouTube. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you got to get those on Spotify, by the way, man.
Oh, I will. Thank you for the reminder.
You got to throw those on there. Yeah, thank you again so much. Manjean, this is our last episode. So, any final messages for you, shout outs, plugs you want to throw out there as well?
Nood kayo ng M5 World Championship. That's it talaga. Nag-message sa akin yung producer. Natin. Sabi niya, masaya na ako. Legit.
Oh.
It means, for our international viewers, I'm happy. So, this means na Season 2. Hindi magka-Season 2.
face to face, no? Parang masaya yung mga face
Season
to face.
2.
Sana face to face.
Oh, season 2 ata. Ayan. Okay, that's it. Thank
That's
you
it,
guys.
Pansit.
Thank you, Wolf.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's go na.
Again,
Let's go na.
Let's go now. He's already got his M5 pass out. Don't forget to grab that, guys. Again, thank you for joining us on all these episodes, this journey of our own here for the M5 journey, the road to M5. It's just a few days away. We can't wait to see you guys, of course. And again, shout out to Wolf. Thank you for being our guest here. And again, for me, I'm Naisou. You guys can find me on all socials at Naisou. And that wraps it up for us. And also a big shout out to our official teleco partner, Smart. This would not be possible without you. That's it for us. So please do check us out, Spotify, YouTube, all the official channels, and we'll see you guys during M5. Let's go.